They say that at night, when the house is silent, when everyone is asleep, and the darkness covers everything, there are things that should not be felt. There are sensations that do not belong to this world, and one of the most terrifying is when something sits at the edge of your bed. This story is not fiction. It is the account of someone who survived to tell it, and since then, she never slept with the door closed again. My name is Laura, or at least that's what you can call me. A few years ago, I lived alone in a small apartment on the north side of the city. It wasn't an old place, it had no rumors of ghosts, and it wasn't burdened with history. It was a normal place, too normal. Everything began on a Thursday dawn. It was 3:18 a.m. I remember because I woke up suddenly, as if something had pulled my consciousness out of sleep. There was no noise. There was no wind. Nothing. Just a strange sensation, the one that crawls down your back when you know you're not alone. I tried to go back to sleep. I turned to one side, took a deep breath, and then I felt it sink, as if someone heavy had taken a seat at the edge of my bed. My body froze. I didn't want to look. I didn't want to move. I didn't even want to breathe. The bed vibrated softly, as if that thing was breathing. A few seconds or minutes passed, I'm not sure, but suddenly the weight disappeared. The bed returned to its normal position, and I stayed there, my heart about to burst. The next day, I convinced myself it was a dream, it was stress, nothing more. But it was only the beginning. The next day, something changed in the atmosphere of the apartment. The air felt heavier, as if humidity had gathered in every corner. That night, the hallway lamp began to flicker. I didn't pay attention until I heard a soft noise, something like nails scraping the wall. 3 a.m. I woke up startled. Before I felt it, again. The same sinking, the same weight, right on the same edge of my bed. But this time something was different. I felt a hand. Yes, a cold hand resting on my leg. My skin bristled completely. I couldn't scream. I couldn't move. It was as if something invisible was studying me. Suddenly, the hand withdrew. The weight got up from the bed, and I heard footsteps, slow, dragging, moving toward the bedroom door. But the door was closed. The footsteps stopped right there, and then a whisper. A whisper so low that I couldn't understand it, but I heard it clearly. Something was in my house, and it didn't want to leave. The next day, without sleep, exhausted, I decided I couldn't ignore it anymore. I checked the bed, the room, the walls. I looked for marks, damage, any logical explanation. Nothing. Then I found something. In the hallway, right in front of my room, a footprint. A small footprint, like that of a child, but it wasn't made of dirt or mud. It was black, like ash or solidified smoke, and it wasn't human. At that moment, I knew that whatever sat on my bed, did not belong to this world. That night, before sleeping, I left the light on. I knew it wouldn't stop it, but I needed to feel some control. At 3:23 a.m., I woke up again. This time, there was no warning, no whispers, no footsteps. It just appeared. Boom. The mattress sunk suddenly, as if someone had jumped on top of it, and then slowly I felt its weight crawling toward me. There was no sleep paralysis. I know. I could move my hands, my feet, but I didn't want to. The sensation was too real, too physical. And then I heard it breathe. A rough breath, as if its lungs were full of dust. Suddenly, I felt something else. Something climbed up my bed, as if its knees pressed into the mattress while it moved toward my torso. I was on the verge of panic when suddenly, "Laura!" It said my name, clearly, with a dry voice, but human. That was the moment I knew I was lost. The next day, I went to speak with the neighbor next door, an older woman who had lived in the building for years. I told her strange things were happening. I didn't give details, only hints. She looked at me with concern and lowered her voice. That apartment should not be inhabited. She told me that 5 years ago, a young man lived there. A young man who suffered from severe insomnia and who said he felt someone sitting on his bed every dawn. A young man who was found dead in that very room, sitting at the edge of the bed, as if he had allowed something to get too close to him. There were no signs of violence. There was no explanation, just an expression of terror frozen on his face. After that, the apartment remained unoccupied until I arrived. The neighbor then told me something that still haunts me. Whatever used to visit him seems to have come back for you. That night was the last I spent in that apartment. As always, I woke up at 3:30 a.m. The room was completely dark, even though I had left the light on. And before I could react, it sat. Not softly, not slowly, as if it had jumped from the ceiling directly onto the bed. I felt the mattress sink deeply. Too much, as if something enormous, heavier than a human, was there. It began moving toward me. I could feel its cold hands grabbing my ankles, then my knees, then my thighs. I cried, but I couldn't move. And then it stopped right beside me. Its face approached mine. Its breath was heavy, humid, as if it were breathing inside my ear. And it said, "Now I found you." The hallway light turned on by itself. The shadow disappeared, and the weight lifted suddenly, as if ripped out of the world. I ran. I left that apartment without looking back. I never returned. Since then, things happen. In my new home, sometimes I find black ash on the edge of my bed. Sometimes I hear footsteps in the hallway. Sometimes the light turns off on its own at 3 a.m. And some nights, I feel a small sinking in the mattress, as if something is still coming to look for me. But now I know. There are presences that do not attach themselves to places. They attach themselves to people. And the one that sat at the edge of my bed has no intention of letting me go.